We're looking at TikTok. We may be banning TikTok. We may be doing some other things. We're not doing anything with TikTok, but the other side's going to close it up. So if you like TikTok, go out and vote for Trump.
Same guy, different administrations. You saw President-elect Donald Trump in his first term warning about the national security risks posed by TikTok. Well, now time is running out for the social media giant, and he's rolling back the tape, vowing to save the app. TikTok faces a deadline of January 19th, the day before Trump's inauguration, to either cut ties with its China-owned parent company or face a ban in the U.S. But can Trump make good on his promise? Joining us now, senior writer for Wired, Kate Knibbs. Kate, it's good to see you. Trump says he wants to save TikTok now, but of course the law forcing a sale is already in place, passed by Congress. So what could Trump do?
So, normally when Congress passes a bill with this much bipartisan support, it seems like there's a very narrow path for a president to do much of anything, but I also wouldn't count Trump out. He might be able to persuade a large portion of the members of Congress who voted for the bill to reverse their stances. He could also issue an executive order, and he could also, if the law is signed, he could tell Matt Gaetz, if he becomes the attorney general, to not enforce the law and get around the ban in that way.
Help us understand this flip-flop or this shift in his perspective, because Trump used to have concerns about TikTok. He tried to ban it, in fact, in 2020. Now he's stacking his cabinet with picks like Marco Rubio, Mike Waltz, and Elise Stefanik, who are proudly China hawks. So you would also think that would be more aligned with banning TikTok. But are the national security risks TikTok poses today any different than they were 4 years ago?
No, they are definitely not any different to my knowledge. And the main difference here, I think, is that the president-elect realized how much political blowback he would face if he ended up presiding over a TikTok ban, especially one day before his inauguration. Half the country uses TikTok. It's enormously popular with small businesses. A lot of the public support for banning TikTok has diminished since there were first discussions about this. A small minority of the country wants to ban TikTok. So it would just be a terrible political move. And I think he realizes that first. Then TikTok has also made wide efforts to lobby Republicans. And I think that they've made some inroads there. So I think the president-elect also realizes that it would be politically unpopular within his own party.
And again, the ban's supposed to go into effect before Trump is inaugurated. So what do you expect users will see when they open their app on January 19th, the day TikTok's supposed to be banned?
Honestly, if I had to make a prediction, I would say that we will still be able to access TikTok. I just think that the political blowback will be too severe. And, maybe I'm wrong, but I think we'll be opening it, and we might even see Donald Trump making a TikTok that day.
He used it a lot during the campaign, as well as the Democrats during the campaign. Kate Knibbs, it's always a pleasure to have your expertise on this reporting with us. Thank you very much.